Hello, everybody out there in Panther Country. This is Superintendent Tim Whitaker coming to you with Panther Vodcast number 12. And my guests today are cross-country coach Bill Emery and cross-country athlete Livi Moll. Welcome, Bill. Welcome, Livi. All right. It is currently 9th hour at the high school, so viewers will probably hear some announcements. A lot of announcements take place then, so we'll try and work through those interruptions. So let's get started. Bill, would you like to tell the viewers a little bit about your background as an educator and also as a cross-country coach?
Sure. I'm on my 22nd year of teaching. My third school I've taught at. My first school I taught was Auburndale. A friend of mine there and I coached together in cross country and track. I do have as a coach as well. Moved to Holman for a couple years. Only helped out very little, and then in 2004 got a job up here working as an ag teacher, and I'm currently doing agriculture and science. For coaching or for cross country, I've been running since I was a little kid. I remember running to church and back on Sundays, and so I've been running a long time. I went to Albany High School, which is in southern Wisconsin, which is a very, very small school, but their main sport down there was cross country, maybe because they didn't have football, but that was their main sport. I did go to state as a runner there, and I also wrestled. So I wrestled both in high school and cross country in high school, and did cross country and wrestling in college. Still a runner, not as much as I'd like to. A big passion for the sport, as you probably would guess.
Where'd you go to college, Bill?
UWRF.
Okay, and you said you ran cross country and wrestled there?
Yeah, I ran 3 years, lettered 2 of them, and I wrestled 1 year. Had the opportunity to get beat up by the coach.
So you talked about
Byron James was kind of rough.
Okay. You talked about running to and from church. Which was your better split, to church or on the way home?
Probably on the way home. Never thought of that.
So Livi, tell us a little bit about your background. Today we're talking about cross country, but I know you're involved in other activities as well. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I started running in elementary school. Me and my dad would always do like the Roberts Day 5K. I joined 6th grade first year. I really enjoyed it, and I was in basketball and track as well. In high school, I grew more of a passion for it. As you know, it's more serious, obviously, in high school, and you have to count on your teammates and just be accountable. So my passion grew, I thought. And then this year, I'm not in basketball anymore, just wasn't really my thing anymore, so I'm just doing cross country and track. But I think this year really changed for me. Like, I obviously loved it, but I just really like it.
So what events are you in track?
4x8, 1 mile, 2 mile, and once in a while I'll do like the open 8, but now my sister does that one more, so. Okay.
Yeah, of course, it wasn't a stretch to think that you did more of the distance running in the track events.
Yeah.
What other activities or passions do you have?
I tried FBLA this year, and I really like that. I'm in SOS, and I think that's really fun because the kids get like so excited, and it's just kind of like a fun day for them. I volunteer with the Hammond Lions Club. My mom's in the Hammond Lions Club, so I I was forced a couple of times to do some things, but in the end, I actually really liked doing it. So I don't know, it's just a good experience.
Can you explain to the viewers what SOS is? I think it's an amazing program as well, but there's folks out there that might not know what it is.
It's SOS stands for Students Offering Support. So kids that maybe new to school or have like a bad home life. So 20 high school students from the junior and senior grades that go over there, and it's just for about a couple hours, but play in the gym, you do crafts, whatever your buddy wants to do. And, especially then you can eat whatever time you want, you don't have to go to your certain classes and stuff. So it's just a time for them to like talk about what's going on at home or whatever, just have fun.
Very similar to like a Big Brothers Big Sisters program, and you do it, I believe, one Friday every month. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, very neat program. It's and I would say that you high school students get just as much out of it as the elementary students do. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. It's just you don't really realize like what some kids have to go through. They'll tell you they'll tell you what's wrong, and it's really meaningful to them, and it kind of makes you happy that you're helping them.
Yep. Just one of the many things, great things, and a long list of great things that take place at SCC. Very heartwarming to see, and yeah, I've seen both sides of it. That's definitely a win-win. Mm-hmm. Bill, would you like to tell us a little bit about your family?
Sure. I've got a wife and 3 kids. My oldest child is Billy, namesake. He's 14. He's in 8th grade, running his year in cross country. Enjoying himself. My daughter is 12. She's in 6th grade, enjoying herself. She also ran cross country for the first time. And Joey, who's 8, who's the comedian of the family, as most youngest children are. I'm the youngest in my family too. So we live on the old family farm where I grew up as a young child. We ran to church, that farm. The Happy Hill Pumpkin Farm, the people in the area might have heard about that from the past. That's the family farm down in Hager City.
And Livy, tell us more about your family.
I have 2 sisters. One is a sophomore and one is a sophomore in college. And then I have a brother who's actually graduating this year from college. It's exciting. And my sister and my brother both go to St. Thomas. So might have to go on a tour there. We live in the country in Hammond. My parents both went to school at St. Croix Central. Everyone in town. So yeah.
Yep, St. Thomas, beautiful, beautiful campus. So moving on, Mr. Emery, why did you decide to choose a career in education?
Well, that started when I was quite young too. My family, I grew up in a dairy farm. Where I live now used to be a dairy farm, now it's a hobby farm. But during that time, I had an opportunity to show cattle at the fair, and was a big part of 4-H and the Junior Dairy Association. But we had a chance then to teach kids how to clip cows and do other things like that, and really enjoyed teaching kids how to do something they were afraid to do. And when I went through high school, I did much of the same thing in terms of leadership and FFA. And I first started with the idea I was going to manage a dairy farm when I went off to college, but I really don't like dealing with somebody else's money. So education looked like a better idea. So I took that and ran with it at River Falls, which had the largest, best ag ed program in the nation. So I went there.
That's where my wife went to school as well, and it's affectionately known as
MooU.
MooU. Yeah. So what got you into coaching, Bill? What attracted you to the coaching aspect?
It started on the wrestling side. When I was in high school, our head wrestling coach didn't know wrestling. He was a international rope puller, so he was a beast in terms of getting you in shape, but he knew nothing about wrestling. I had actually come out of the Ellsworth wrestling program, so if you know anything about that in the area, I knew my wrestling by the time I got to high school. And I would have to say when I was already a junior in high school, myself and Bill Carl's a best friend from high school, we were the ones actually coaching a lot of the team in terms of what to do and how to get there and that kind of thing. So it really started that direction. I loved running, but I really didn't take on the idea of being a coach until I actually went into teaching. Jim Johnson, who I coached track with and helped him with cross country at the time, he and I kind of put that together. So went that direction. So now, it's in terms of coaching, I'm always learning, always trying to get better, and trying to rub elbows with those that know what they're doing and have had success and learning what they're doing. And well, I guess we're doing okay then.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll talk about what okay has looked like this year in a little bit. But before that, Livy, you talked about being in basketball, cross country, and track. But you really have a passion now for cross country. What do you love about the sport of cross country?
I like how much of a team sport it is and how you really need to count on each other. Every race, you're not racing for yourself. You have to think about how this is going to affect the team, and just the feeling that you get after like a good race. You had a good time or a good place. It's like it sticks with you, I think, and just like every practice pushing each other. It's like the hardest, sport I've ever done, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, I think I've talked to Mr. Emery a little bit about this, and I've used different analogies with running and running a race. But I'm a hobby runner, I guess myself. I really don't like to run on a treadmill, so I only run when the weather's good. But and I've got went through spurts where I got pretty serious about it, and I got to understand a little bit about how it can be addictive. But it's certainly, I would say, like you said, Livy, a very tough sport. It's not easy. And it's pretty straightforward in that it's just you against you, so to speak. And I know those stretches when you're not feeling your best and you're in the middle of a long run, it's a lot of mental toughness because it is hard, and it's borderline, I wouldn't say painful, but highly uncomfortable. It stretches. And I didn't get to some of those stretches, and I mentally I repeat to myself, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. Because sometimes you just feel like stopping, but it kind of sometimes is just that simple. Don't stop. And I think it really applies to a lot of things in life and reaching our, finish line or goals. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. But it's interesting to hear you say that. The first two times you talked about cross country, you said team. And that's interesting. I find that personally interesting because, most people think about cross country as an individual. And yeah, it is a collective of individuals, but that team aspect, and even across, your team and other teams, I really admire how everybody's so supportive of each other. Other teams are cheering on other teams, and yeah, you're competing, but it's still a really neat sport in terms of that camaraderie and the bonds that you develop with your teammates and with other runners. You guys like to expand on those comments?
I'd like to. I spent a lot of time in practice trying to really force, it's not really a force, support the idea of a team and how they run together or support each other. When one person isn't feeling like giving it its all, the team kind of pulls them together and pushes that quite a bit. So the team aspect of it is wildly important for my success as a coach, because you're never going to be on every day, and without each other, you got to be able to be successful that way. The other portion of it in terms of people finding happiness in the sport, you're right. Racing cross country, and I like to make it a difference. And racing cross country is a competition, and I usually tell them get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because you are not supposed to run comfortable in cross country. Now, doing a fun run, yeah, you can jog along and have a good time, and the color run and some of those other runs that are out there. I joined the kids in a turkey trot down in Ellsworth this last Thanksgiving. That's fun. It wasn't uncomfortable running, but the cross country race, when you're trying to turn it on, if you're comfortable, you're not running fast enough. So that is learning what comfortable is or what uncomfortable is safe, and that's learning the sport. That's learning yourself and the whole wellness portion of life. So yeah, those things are kind of important.
Can you talk about the training that goes into cross country? The casual observer might just say, "Oh, you go out there and you run as fast as you can." It's not that simple. Would you maybe like to go into depth about the training that leads up to making an athlete run their fastest races?
Most of my training really isn't training the legs, it's training the heart. And Livi can attest to this too. We spend a lot more time talking about what we want to accomplish, and the girls kind of holding it together, or even the boys holding it together in terms of this is what we want and this is where we go. So their heart's pulling them along. It's not me with a whip saying get running faster, because if I have to do that, it's not going to happen. They really pull it out themselves. On the other hand, I try to mix in things to keep them from being distracted, keep them from losing patience, or let them have fun, so that it isn't drudgery. It can be exciting on days. If I see that needs to work, then I change the workout to maybe push that a little more, so they have that strength when they get to a race. Most of my training is training to the heart, not the legs.
Livi, would you like to talk a little bit about that as well? One aspect is to train, for, let's say, a 5K race. You don't run a 5K every day. You obviously run different distances. You try to run different speeds in interval training, and there's kind of a science leading up to, the race day, prepping yourself for that. Not just the physical, but also nutrition plays a big part in that, and rest. You want to talk a little of those details, Livi?
Yeah. So during the summer, obviously we don't have Mr. Emery there every day to coach us, so it's captain's practice. So obviously we have to come up with our own, what are we going to do today? So, we do, try to do, a long run, a speed workout, hill workout, maybe, a mid-distance run throughout the week and mix it up. And to do something fun, we go to, Willow River sometimes, run there. And we really wanted to focus on, being hydrated and eating a lot of healthy food. Just gives us a lot more energy, and you can tell a difference when you don't really have a lot of food, or maybe sugar also. When talking about preparing for the race, all the girls team would get together maybe 10 minutes before the race, and we would all lay down, and people would stare, but we would mentally imagine our race and what we're going to do, what do we want to accomplish. And I think that really helps us, and it just makes a routine. So every race you're doing the same things, and I think it helps your body when you know what to do at every step.
Exactly. Mind and body, they're definitely interconnected. So you mentioned sugar, blood sugar. You have some personal experiences with that, I believe, don't you, Livi?
Yeah. Didn't quite have enough one race, so that didn't end so well. Couldn't finish. But it's just something to learn. I mean, probably wasn't the ideal race to have it at conference, but something to learn from, I guess.
Yep. So tell us about your teammates, Livy. What can you tell us about your teammates this year?
My teammates are the best. They're like so hardworking, and I think this year we knew we could accomplish a lot. And like as they say, the fourth and fifth runners are most important, and they are. Like they know when the coaches are talking to them, they know what they need to do, and they'll do it. And it's like really cool to watch.
So, Coach Emery, what qualities do you try and develop in your cross country athletes? You talked about one major one being the heart. What are some others?
Well, I spend a lot of time in terms of leadership skills, really going to the end of servanthood. I want them to be good servants to each other. And it starts with the captain. Maybe it starts with me, but it really trickles down in terms of what can I do for my team. Livy brought up the conference race where she didn't finish, and she was in a sugar depletion mindset. She wasn't thinking clearly, but it was clearly coming out, but my team, but my team, but my team. And so to put it on the line, Livy gave everything she had to win conference, and it wasn't for her at all. It was for her team. So that's part of the mindset that I try to help them along. Again, it's something they have to discover for themselves, because if I try to put them in the mood to do that, but if I force that on them, they'll push back, and it's really girls bringing it out in each other. So it's in the life of a cross country team. So that's one quality. The other quality is we talk a lot about what's that next little thing that we can do to get better. What can I do now? I'm already doing these other 10 things. Is there one more thing I can do to get better? And so we can always improve, and cross country is no different. So what's that next step to being awesome?
Well,
it might, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I said it might be nutrition, it might be water, it might be one of the things I've been pushing lately, and parents kind of giggle at this one, but I said taking naps. I want my runners to take naps because they get stressed out over school just like everyone else, and the workouts take a lot out of you. So if you can take a 20-minute nap after practice before you start in on studying, that's probably a good idea.
Well, cross country obviously has a lot of life applications. Talked about leading with the heart, talked about servitude, leadership, nutrition. All those things are skills that you're developing in your athletes that can be applied to their entire life for the rest of their life. So it's a great activity and a great thing that you're doing as a leader, Coach Emery, and a great thing that you're participating in, Livy. One of the many opportunities that really happy to see you take advantage of here at St. Croix Central, and certainly represent our school in a very positive way.
Scheduled Thursday, January 5th at Emery. The theme is downtown together. T-shirts, sweatshirts, Livi Moll purchase. The sizes small to extra large, and the cycles, depending on what you're buying, range from $15 to $30. So if you're interested in purchasing something for that, for the takedown surgery on January 10th, please bring your money tomorrow.
All right, I think we'll have to edit that out. That was a long one. So let's talk about the season highlights. I don't know. Leave it up to you who would like to start, but maybe kind of walk us through the season, how it started, and some of the highlights, and then we'll get to obviously ending with the state cross country meet.
Well, I'm going to let Livy start. I want her to talk a little bit about how often the group got together. This summer and kind of their focus off that. She mentioned it earlier, but I think that was, I believe, it was a huge key on our success. Livy?
Every day, all the girls would wake up around like 5:45 and we go lift at the middle school. And after that, every day we would run, and it got to the point where Emery's like, "You guys need to have a fun day," but it was really worth it. Like, you get a lot closer when you're working hard every day with like the team that you're going to be with for the next few months, and it really showed throughout the season. So.
Yeah, the most rewarding things are the things that you work the hardest for, and certainly cross country is one of those activities that you got to put in the work. There are no shortcuts. You just got to put in the miles, and obviously that pays off, and it paid off this season. All right, so that's the summer. About how many girls were there every day, Livy?
I would say like 5 to 7 maybe, and then obviously once school started, we have a couple foreigns and some like our freshmen. She didn't really know like this, but we gained a few during the school year.
So we had 7 practice all summer. We had 2 foreign exchange students. That's 9. We only had 11 on the team. So you're talking about a large percentage of the girls participating all summer in the workouts, trying to get better. That's why we did well.
And for those folks that don't know a whole lot about cross country, how many girls score for the team at each meet?
Good question. 5 girls, 5 runners score at a meet. So it's the top 5 runners across the line. Most meets we don't have to separate varsity from JV, but everybody runs. There's not the only varsity races would be sectionals and state. So everybody gets a chance to run.
And scoring's pretty straightforward. Again, for folks that don't know, is a high score or a low score better?
Low score is better. Perfect score is 15.
Because if you're first place, it's how many points?
First place is 15 points. That's a perfect score. I have gotten that in the past with a team I was on. That was kind of crazy. But the first runner across, whatever their place is, that's their score. So 15 would be a perfect score.
So yeah, if you're the first in the race, you get 1 point. If you're 9th, that's the 9 points. So you're at 10, and you kind of add your top 5 runners. So you have had a perfect score. Wow, I had not heard of that. That's amazing.
It was a conference meet in high school. They didn't have much. We didn't have much for competition.
Okay, being modest. Okay, so now let's fast forward to the first day of practice and kind of lead us through the rest of the season.
Well, I start the season off generally the same way every year. We do a little warm up. We do some running the first couple days or so. We sit down and we talk about goals. So we hit that rather early. But if they're working out every day during the summer, they already have a kind of a goal set in mind. So this is pretty easy. In addition to that, we find accountability partners. So that's making sure that people, when they're not in cross country or not in practice, they're doing what they said they need to do. So they're eating right, they're getting rest, they're doing their homework, they're not getting distracted and take away from your performance, not only at meets but at practice as well. Because getting stronger doesn't come just at the meets. You have to perform at your best every day in order for that curve to continue in terms of getting better. As you progress through the season, we worked more and more in terms of what are our running groups, what are our running pairs, where are our weaknesses, and changing a little bit of our our speeds or distances to match that up, trying to keep people healthy, or getting them back to healthy. We did quite well this year with our girls staying healthy. We had a couple of foreign exchange kids come in, and one said she was a pretty good middle distance runner in track, but we wanted to make sure we didn't scare her off for cross country. So breaking her in slowly in terms of what cross country was like was something that benefited us a great deal. She turned out to be a varsity runner, the first exchange student to ever make varsity. Wow.
Uh-oh, is your lights go? Okay.
Fun for that.
Motion lights? Yeah, okay.
I don't think I have in my class. Somebody might have set the all off button, but.
Oh. Okay.
But in terms of as the season went on, and progression for practices, I like to keep things the same, and Livy touched on that as well. As long as we're repetitive and doing what we do at practice at meets, and how we warm up at home is the same as we warm up when we go someplace else. I'm trying to get them the experiences to do that. I take them to big meets to go against big competition. Two of our meets are with competition we'll never see anywhere else. The Roy Griak, which is one of the largest cross-country meets in the nation, we run up there at the University of Minnesota. We run over in Menominee with the Menominee Relays against mostly Division I runners. Why do we do that? Well, mostly because I'm chasing down another school, but partly is the style of running is a relay race, and that's a little different. So I want them to not get bored with what I'm doing. So there's a little things here and there that I'm trying to get them in the mood for what's coming at the end. So they're used to a big race. They're used to the high competition. They're not stuck on the idea of one direction or the other, that they can open up and run their best.
So what are some of the noteworthy perhaps events that took place during the season prior to the WIA postseason series?
Well, that's a good question. We didn't come back with a lot of hardware this year. Livy came home with a lot of medals around her neck. She was our #1 all season long. Well, other than conference. But she did quite well. So she's, if she put them all on her letter jacket, she'd probably not be able to stand up. But on the other hand, we didn't bring a lot of trophies home. But we also could probably say, when you're competing against Division I and you're going that route, you're not expected to win the race. You're expected to improve and get comfortable and know how to run against higher competition. On the other hand, if we wanted to tally up conference teams or sectional teams, we only lost to New Richmond and we only lost to Northwestern. We lost to New Richmond once at conference and the week before at their home meet, and we lost to Northwestern at sectionals. That's the only teams in our section or conference teams that we lost to all season. So they had a very successful season. It was just hidden quite well because we were up against competition far greater than us.
Yeah, and in the emphasis of the regular season was then to prepare for the postseason so that they're at their best when it matters most. Would that be an accurate statement?
I wanted them to be comfortable. So yes, they're at their best. It's just another run. That everything else was actually sectionals was probably a smaller meet than what they're used to. Bigger stress because it's sectionals, but not a bigger meet. So it kind of evened things out. So.
And you guys stayed relatively healthy throughout the season?
The girls did, and that's probably why they did quite well this year, is they stayed healthy. And some of that is the number of miles you put on them, the pounding on the road, so keeping them off the road. And frankly, it's the work they did during summer. So if you get the background miles in the summer, stay off the road as much as possible. They're going to stay healthy and they're going to stay strong.
What are some of your favorite meets to run in, Livy?
I like Rice Lake. We go there twice. Just like there's a really big meet. That was fun to compete. There's like Hudson and then a couple of Division I schools. I like our home meet just because I'm familiar with it, and I feel like most of the other schools don't like running our trail because there's some big hills, but like we're used to it, so we don't mind it that much. And the Roy, we walk it wrong every year, so we don't quite know the course before we run it, but it's such a cool experience and then you can watch the college runners and just perform at that big of a level. It's pretty cool.
Talk about being healthy. I mean, some of it's luck, but a majority of it is just being prepared and being smart and taking care of your bodies. What are some of the keys you think to staying healthy? Like Mr. Emery mentioned, staying off the roads, the pounding, obviously good shoes, nutrition, things like that.
Yeah, before every practice, we do these workouts, just little workouts to help your shins, because that's a really that one really hurts when you get that. You usually out for the whole season, or you still have them, but you run anyway. We said no pop for the team. Eating right and eating a lot is what we really focused on, and drinking lots of water. There weren't too many meets that were extremely hot, but I think it helps. I mean, any race if you're well hydrated.
Do you guys use the rollers or the foam rollers to do the fascial release, or any special exercises like that to prevent shin splints?
We use the rollers once in a while for feeling tight. We also use just the athletic bands to help stretch more. And Miss Holly, middle school coach, would show us some different exercises we could do, and you can really feel a difference when you do those.
Coach Holly is an instructor in yoga, and so we've used some of her skills to help out in the repair or recovery for our runners after a race or run.
Okay, so let's fast forward to postseason and sectionals. You want to walk us through that meet?
Sectionals was and will be stuck in my head as one of the most dramatic races I've ever watched. I wasn't quite sure in terms of how things were going to play out because of the drama we had the week before at conference. And drama, I mean, yeah, Livi went down, and it was scary and interesting for that part of the drama. But to have all the girls run past her to finish the race not only affected Livi, but it affected everybody. Go forward one more week into sectionals, and not sure how they would approach it. We spent a lot of time trying to dig into where we are, how are we feeling safe, are we going to run this? And I think Livi did great work in terms of looking inside herself to be able to do that. And her confidence came out with in showing in the other girls. They did start slow. They did start the sectional race behind. In fact, halfway through the race, the girls were in fourth place, quite a ways away from being able to do anything. And yelling at them, telling them, let them know that they're in fourth. Come on, girls, you can do this. You're going to go. You got to go now. And they were 1.5 miles out. And when it was 1,000 meters away, they were still 100 meters yet to go. So they made up quite a bit of ground, but they still had quite a bit to catch. And sure enough, as Livi said, 3, 4, and 5 made huge strides and went ahead and caught up with Northwestern. And I was hoping that they could grasp them, but they came in second only by basically 1 stride, which was a great race. And we'll remember that race forever.
So 1 stride from being third, or 1 stride from being first?
1 stride from being first.
Yeah. So Livi, Coach Emery talks about, hey, you need to run faster and gain ground. how do you do that? What's going through your mind when you really got to dig down and try to go faster?
What I think is just, it doesn't matter how your legs feel, it doesn't matter how your heart feels. Like, you have it right here, and you've done it before, you can do it, and like, you have to do it for your team. Like, they're counting on you, and I don't know, just being selfless really helps.
Does it help when people are yelling and cheering you on?
Definitely. I like that.
And then so you generally were ahead of your teammates. The teammates behind you, are they close? Are they talking to each other, or how does that work with the rest of your teammates?
There's like an example on our course. There's a loop kind of at the end. So I'm going by and I can see my teammates starting the loop. And so, we're cheering each other on as much as we can when we're, out of breath. But that's like kind of the fun part, because you're in the race, but you still can cheer for them.
All right. So the top two teams at sectionals get to advance to state. So obviously that was a pretty special meet. And like you said, you'll remember it for a number of reasons. Talk to us about post race and then preparing for the state meet.
Post race, we weren't tallying the scores as it came by. We did have PT timing there, so we were going to get results rather quickly. But I didn't really know until they announced it where we had placed. I count in my head or make pretty good guesses at where we were, and I had a pretty solid feeling that we got a chance to go to state. But I don't like to say anything until they actually give the official. I made a bold statement way back in the middle of the season or early in the season to Livy's mom. I said, if all things stay the same, we're going to state, when we ran the Rice Lake race. And sure enough, coming later, the results came out. We went to state. So I don't usually make statements like that, but once in a while I spit them out, and this time it came true. The post race, it was a lot of hugs, a lot of tears of joy, some silliness, even more so out of the coaches than normal. So it was pretty fun.
Speaking of coaches, tell us a little bit about your assistant coaches.
Okay. Coach Rhodey and I have been coaching for quite a while. He's the middle school coach. He's done a great job pulling kids together and at the middle school level. So we run anywhere from 40 to 70 runners at the middle school level. A big reason why I believe why the high school team is still doing so well, because we get them addicted when they're young. We also have Kirsten Holly, helping us out. And she's a new addition, but she's an alumni of St. Croix Central. She was part of the program even before I got here. And she has some definite skills that we've used and gained from. And she's liking the direction that we're going as a team, and is fascinated with how we handle things. So I love the enthusiasm that she brings as well.
So Olivia, tell us about that moment when it was official, the announcement came that you guys were going to state, because I'm sure that's a moment you'll never forget.
Yeah, so they're counting off 5th place, 4th place, 3rd place. When we got to 3rd place, we were like, wait, like, they didn't call our name yet. And so it gets to 2nd place and they call our name, and we talked about it, like, none of us knew we even had a chance. We didn't think we were even that close, and so it was a huge surprise, and that was just the highlight of the season.
Yeah, like Coach Emery said, hugs and tears and silliness.
Yeah.
So, going to state is a rare moment, obviously, a rare occasion. Can you talk about kind of the significance of that accomplishment for St. Croix Central girls cross country?
Sure. The girls have never been to the state meet before. If you look at their poster in the gym, they've got nothing on it. And so this year was a miraculous year. It's a historical year. Making it to state, something we haven't done before, and they're pretty excited about it. when we got there, that's not a new trip for Central. Boys had gone 8 years before in 2008, and did very well then too. And we had taken individuals in the past, but not even for girls. So this is a great day.
All right, so let talk about the state meet, Livi. Maybe take it from the top. From the beginning, arriving there and walking the course and the whole experience.
When we got there, it was definitely like nothing we've ever seen before because there's just so many like runners, obviously, but there's a ton of spectators. So because it's a course that we've never been on, Emery walked it with us, which he doesn't normally do, but it helped because he could point out different parts of the course and when to watch out for this, and it's a really hilly course, so you kind of have to be run a certain way, we like a hilly course because we always have a good trail to practice those. When we got to warming up, we had to wait a few hours because the other races before, so I don't really like waiting because it makes me nervous, but get to the starting line and then it just becomes real. Like we kept on like not believing, like we went to the state meet. When the gun goes off, you just gotta pretend it's like a normal meet and run your race.
So it was a hilly course, you said, but much like the home course.
Yeah, it's on a golf course, so usually the golf courses are pretty hilly.
And how many individual runners were there in that race?
I don't even know.
You don't know? About 150.
Yeah, and so would that have been the biggest race, or the Griak or the Rice Lake meet? Those are just as big or bigger.
The Roy Griak's much larger. There's maybe close to 50 teams at the line, so there's quite a few more there. This one is just the intensity of the spectators make it a whole lot bigger. They get some of the same things at the Roy, but the spectators aren't near as intense. So that you can feel that when you're there. So that's a big difference. The Rice Lake meet is pretty big, but again, the spectators aren't there. There are some, but not near as many for us. A lot of parents come up, but there's not a lot of outside that coming up because it's way up in Rice Lake, and I'm an hour and 15, hour and a half away.
Yeah. So what was different about that race? Anything, Livi? Or was there, obviously the crowd is bigger. What other things stood out in your mind during that race?
So definitely the crowd and just competition that you've seen a couple of the teams, but obviously most of them you've never raced against, so that was pretty different. Because usually in a normal race, when you're running, you're mid race, who the people are by you, and you're nervous, but you've made it to the state meet, so you're nervous, but it's you're just gonna run your race and just have fun with it.
What was the overarching strategy or that you had? Was there a plan, kind of a game plan for that race?
I was pretty close to some certain girls from Ashland, and that was kind of my game plan. Try to stick with them or beat them. Go hard on the hills. Yeah.
Okay. Anything to add, Coach Emery?
Well, I've been to the state meet a lot. Before I came to this school district, I worked the state meet, so I knew the course quite well, and we talked quite a bit even before we got there about what the course was like and what to expect. And they knew quite well before we got there a lot of the bigger details of the race. So that part was good, but you can't compare times from one race to another very easily because of courses are different, days are different, and that doesn't always work out. The course might even, from one race to another, might even be shorter. Coaches don't always measure it out correctly.
Yeah.
I always tell them to compare themselves to their competition, and that's where going to the state meet is rather difficult because we don't have a lot of teams from this area go down. When you're in the competing teams that we run against aren't there, where do you run? So like Livy said, I ran against the Ashland girls. So 2 Ashland girls ran quite well at the sectional meet. So as individuals, they made it down. The Northwestern girls weren't really around us. So we based off that. So that made it quite difficult to pace in on that. So they listened quite a bit during that race in terms of what they're doing, but the large race got to them, so it was a little more stressful for them, and I'm sure this year's experience will only bleed into next year.
Speaking of next year, what are the expectations for next year?
Well, everybody's got hopes and dreams, and I always like to better things. So that's really up to the team, right? It's what can they pull out of it, what's in their heart, and what kind of freshmen do I have coming up? Because we're losing our captain. She's on one of the top 5, so we need to find replacements. Now, we have 11 on the team. 2 of them are leaving. One is a foreign exchange girl, Margot, but we've got a couple coming up. I think that easily slide into those positions. So it's the world is their oyster. They can do what they want.
So yeah, you're at the state meet. Obviously, you're competing against the top runners in the entire state and your division. So if I remember right, the weather was really nice that day. So how did things end up, and how did you feel post race?
They tied for 13th place, I think it was, and got 14th because of our 6th runner. I think that's how it went. It's been a couple months, so I don't have that memorized. The race itself, they did pretty well. They were more tight than I'd like to have them. They did a lot of the similar things, so things in that sense, they did their best. I will easily say that. Post race, Livy didn't go down this time. It was another runner that finished the race, left the, I don't want to say quarantine area, but the chip collection area. When she got out, she started feeling a little woozy, so we had to send her back for some fluids and some help there. But all in all, we had a lot of parents there, pretty excited, and lots of pictures. The boys team went with us, so they were all giddy as well. So that was a good festival time.
So after this season wrapped up, you got a nice surprise in that you're notified that you earned the District 1 Coach of the Year award. You want to talk about that, please, Bill?
Like I said, I like to rub elbows with the coaches that seem to know a lot, and the Hudson coach is already in the cross-country coaches Hall of Fame, still coaching, and is already a living legend. So I've been spending quite a bit of time learning from him, and I guess it paid off because he's this year's District 1 Boys Coach of the Year, and I'm District 1 Girls Coach of the Year. It's pretty exciting to be listed with him and the other coaches that won. I don't know who the other ones are, but just to be labeled that is pretty exciting. So,
and you want to talk about which organization sponsors that award and how it's determined?
Sure. Wisconsin Cross Country Coaches Association is the one that sponsors it. It's all the coaches, and mostly the northern third of the state, at least northwestern part of the state, both Division 1, 2, and 3, all vote on which coach they think is most deserving. And the nominations go out, and once you're nominated, you can tell a little bit about what your season was like, and then the coaches vote on it. I talked really about what happened with conference and sectionals and making it to state. I talked about that experience. I think that was a big deal for our season, and made a huge impact on me. People congratulate me about this quite a bit, and I'm going to tell you, the girls make it easy. The team in general, boys and girls, make my coaching job real easy, because I don't have to fight on much. When I'm trying to train them from the heart, I don't have to worry about their skill, because they're trying their best in every area. They're just, it's easy to do, and I really appreciate what they do for me.
Well, congratulations on earning that award. You know, I know it's especially meaningful that it comes from your peers, other coaches that totally get it, and you certainly represent St. Croix Central, you know, in a very positive way. And even if you didn't get that award, you know, like you said, you represent our school very well, and very appreciative of that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And Livi, would you like to say a few words about Coach Emery, as long as we're talking about accolades?
I just think Emery is the most deserving of that. He spends so much time with us during even a couple days out of the week in the summer, and the whole fall is just every day, and that, you know, you're away from your family, and it takes a lot of time to, you know, be a coach and do what he does. So he's so deserving of the award.
Yeah, it's certainly not a job. It's a lifestyle, and to be really successful like you are, you obviously you have to have a passion for it, and you certainly model that. So we're near the end of our Vodcast. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share as we close out this Vodcast?
Thanks for holding it. I think there's quite a few runners in the district or in the area that want to be part of this, and we're always looking for others that want to just run with us. So stop on in. We always take help. We always take an additional foot on the ground.
Yeah, and show up at 6 o'clock in the summers, and it'll be at the high school now, because it was at the middle school this summer just because of the temporary weight room. But yeah, got an even better weight room to start out in. So Livi, any final thoughts?
Well, thanks for holding it, and I'm excited for next year and the summer to come.
So am I, definitely. Well, thank you again, and congratulations on a great season to you both and your teammates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.